I mean, I tend to think movies is somewhat like the circus. You're putting a circus together. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not elegant sometimes and simple in its nature. But if you're going to put a show together, you've watched the Academy Awards, right? They're finally back to making it a show. COVID, it became 25 I Had a Dream speeches, which is boring as hell. People want to see a show. They want to be entertained. So now they're back to doing that. Even did COVID, why didn't they put a bunch of dancers in hazmat suits and have them flying all around? Because whoever was running it didn't have any sense of being a showman.
What about the Will Smith slap? You think that's good because it was entertaining?
What was the flap? Tell me.
What?
The
Will Smith, he came up and was that the Oscars or was that Grammys?
That was the Oscars because he won the Oscar.
Yeah, so he
slapped Chris Rock, the host.
Oh, you mean Will Smith? Yeah. Oh God, was that entertaining? It was certainly entertaining. Okay. However, what I find interesting about that is the political furor that came from every side. Like you had, this is why, even though I'm expressing opinions on a lot, I try to hold a lot of my opinions about things in reserve because you're not going to change too many. But there were people who thought that was a very chivalrous thing that he did to protect his lady. There were other people who were appalled by the expression of violence there. So I forget exactly what I knew what it was about to begin with, because she had been on these podcasts, had been, in my opinion, appallingly revealing about their personal lives. And he felt a sense that he had to express his manhood in that particular circumstances, which was misplaced, in my opinion. But I think the camera panned to her, and she seemed somewhat pleased by the whole deal. So, you're talking about someone that I question her motives. When you're selling the intimate details of your husband, the father of your children, on to sell a podcast, I think it's a little bit. Now, who am I to judge, since you read my book, and there's a lot of stuff in that book. And I think the second volume, I would really think about that more, because what did I want to achieve with that first volume? I wanted it to be sort of a literary exercise. Hence, the language is a little bit less than readily communicable. It was more stream of consciousness, because those were writers that I admired at that time. I was doing a lot of verbal flourishing to kind of have it be a literary thing. I think in this next book, clarity and communication of exactly what I'm thinking about. And also, you're that much older, so you become a different kind of an artist after that. Look, I'm not above stretching the boundaries of comedy for certain things. I just felt like Will Smith's an immensely talented guy, immensely talented. Clearly one of our greatest actors, just from Ali. So what is your woman doing talking about affairs on her podcast that she's had? Now, I get it. You want readership, but that's got to sting him on a fundamental level. It's got to hurt him on a tremendous level. And that's what was happening there, in my opinion. Anger is not a very productive device. It's very, very rarely, and that's something I had to learn really hard. Anger is not something that is somebody once said, anger divorces you from wisdom. And that's exactly what happens. So I don't know if I answered your question about that, but it was entertaining, shocking to some extent, but didn't shock me because I felt that I knew his motives. I would have divorced her a long time ago, but I'm not making him wrong by doing that. I'm just saying they made a decision. Then it was revealed that they weren't even together. So he's such a good guy that they have done this on some level, built this infrastructure for their children and for the nature of the friendship. And I get it. Nobody can question any of that. So it's always fascinated to me what people can get over because of love and devotion and sense of loyalty and things like that. So.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty universal things. I think a lot of men would kind of understand that perspective as well, and kind of ultimately empathize with that to a certain degree. Be like, okay, I see kind of the scenario, circumstances that he was in. I could see how easily that could happen.
Yeah, and the thing
reaction
took on all these racial overtones. Was he diminishing the black race because he was exhibiting violence as a black man? That's nonsense.
Right.
It was really interesting to see he's been banned from the academy for 10 years. I think that's excessive. Yeah, no. I think if you're with a woman who's causing you to be in situations like that, it's her problem. Not like, okay, I don't know about you, but traveling with a woman in let's say a place that's dangerous, okay? A man's going to be put in a situation where he's going to have to be the defender. And that's really dangerous sometimes, but that's the natural role. And she was putting him, in my opinion, not to jump all over the woman, but she was putting him in a situation where he was probably a powder keg waiting for his sense of manhood to reassert itself. So
Kind of a lose-lose situation for him in a way, because if he doesn't do anything, then he gets the backlash. Oh, you're not standing up for your wife. But then he does something like, oh my gosh, you took it too far. And I don't know, it just really shows you that everyone's human at the end of the day too. I mean, a guy, Will Smith, the level of his success that he has achieved, I mean, not too many have reached where he has gone in that.
Absolutely. So should he be allowed back in the academy? Sure. I think he should long before the 10 years is over.